My childhood sweetheart, Sophia, and I had promised we'd get into North University together, but on graduation day, I found a photo of Sophia and the wealthy transfer student, Makoto, on the school bulletin board. The caption read, "Congratulations to Sophia and Makoto on their joint admission to Southern University." On Sophia's social media, there was only one caption, "Thank you for showing me a bigger world." I opened the comments. The very first reply was from Makoto. It read, "Next stop, the South." I was furious. Right then and there, I swore to cut off my feelings and lock away my heart. From that day on, no more women in my heart, only books in my future. But later, Makoto went bankrupt, and Sophia dropped out of college. She came back to apologize and asked me, "George, was I really that foolish?" She cried so pitifully that anyone would have felt sorry for her. As the hopelessly kind-hearted guy I was, I immediately replied. Hard to say. Chapter 1. On graduation day, I stood in front of the school bulletin board, staring at the honor roll where Sophia and Makoto's photos were displayed side by side. They were both smiling brightly. Beneath the photos was a line that read, "Congratulations to Sophia and Makoto on their joint admission to a university in the South." I stared at that photo for a long time, so long that the popsicle in my hand melted, sugary syrup dripping down my fingers until they felt sticky. 12 years, from kindergarten all the way through senior year, Sophia had always sat beside me. Back in middle school, she said we'd be desk mates again in high school. During our first year of high school, she said we'd get into North University together one day. But in the winter of senior year, Makoto transferred from the South and took the seat behind her. Not long after, Sophia suddenly said to me, "George, I think universities in the South are pretty great too." I didn't understand what she meant. By the time I did, she was already sitting beside Makoto, smiling at him. Her eyes curved into crescents, the tips of her ears flushed pink, and even her voice had become softer than usual. She used to smile like that only at me. After the graduation ceremony, she posted on Instagram 9 photos. Every single one was of her and Makoto together. At the beach, on the sports field, in the classroom, on the rooftop. The caption said only one sentence. "Thank you for showing me a bigger world." I opened the comments and scrolled down. The very first one was from Makoto. "Next stop, the South." Sophia replied with a heart. I locked my phone. The wooden stick of my popsicle snapped in my grip. A splinter pierced my palm, sending a sharp sting through my hand. But it still wasn't as painful as my heart. Yeah, that's complete nonsense. Heartbreak hurts way more. I stood up, tossed the broken popsicle stick into the trash, took a deep breath, and declared, "Starting today, I spoke to the empty school field. I, George, hereby sever all ties to love and lock away my heart forever. For the rest of my life, I will never fall for another woman. I'll carve this pain into my bones and take it with me to the grave." My phone rang. It was David, my childhood best friend. We'd been admitted to the same university. I answered, but before I could say a word, he exploded. "Holy crap, George, we got a 4-person dorm, private bathroom, and a balcony. Do you know how miserable the 6-person dorm next door is? Bunk beds, and the bathrooms all the way down the hallway, shared." I cut him off. "David, I just got dumped." The other end went quiet for 2 seconds. Then David replied in the most serious voice imaginable, "Bro, I understand how you feel, but it's a private bathroom. Do you know what a private bathroom means? It means you don't have to wait in line to take a dump. It means you can shower without wearing flip-flops. It means..." I hung up. Chapter 2. When I got home, my mom was in the kitchen cooking. I tossed my backpack onto the couch and collapsed beside it, looking like life had completely lost its meaning. My mom came out carrying a plate of braised pork ribs, glanced at me, and asked, "What's wrong?" I said, "Mom, Sophia went to the South with Makoto." She froze for a second, then she set the plate on the table. "So, let her go." I clutched my chest dramatically. "Mom, 12 years. We've known each other for 12 years. So what?" She replied, "I've known your dad for 20 years, and I still want to strangle him every day." From the bedroom, my dad shouted, "Who are you talking about? You. Say that again if you've got the guts. You grumpy old man." I sat in the living room, listening to my parents yelling at each other from the kitchen and bedroom. By the time they were done, every trace of my heartbreak had been blasted clean away. Seriously, they completely ruined the mood. After finishing her argument with my dad, my mom wiped her hands and sat beside me. "Son, let me tell you something honestly." "Go ahead." "I never thought Sophia was right for you." I stared at her. "Mom, you even used to make brown sugar ginger tea for her. That was because you'd been friends for 12 years. She patted my shoulder. "Stop dwelling on it. Eat some ribs when college starts. Focus on your studies instead of wasting your time thinking about romance." "I don't have an appetite." "Oh." She nodded casually. 3 ribs then. If you're not eating them, I'll give them to your dad. Leave them for me. That summer, I tried very hard to maintain my heartbroken image. Every day, I'd post melancholy quotes on social media. Some people leave and they're gone forever. The northern wind is cold. Just like her. 12 years and we were only passing strangers after all. The first post got 3 likes. My mom, my dad, David. David also commented, "Bro, quit being so dramatic. Hurry up and lend me your barbecue grill." The second post got 1 like. David. His comment, "So, about that grill." The third post got 0 likes. Instead, David sent me a private message. "Are you lending me the grill or not?" I deleted every single post. September 1st, move-in day. Dragging my suitcase, I stood at the entrance of my university, watching the crowds of students coming and going. I had only one thought. Starting today, I was going to become a quiet, brooding man of few words, the kind of man whose eyes alone would make people think, "This guy has a story." With that in mind, I deliberately put on a pair of sunglasses. The September sun was brutally hot, but if you wanted to look mysterious, sunglasses were non-negotiable. I dragged my suitcase across campus. When I reached the dorm building, I stopped. There was a girl ahead of me. She wasn't very tall, her high ponytail swaying as she crouched beside an enormous suitcase, struggling to move it. She couldn't lift it by herself. One of the wheels had gotten wedged in the gap between the steps. I hesitated. At first, I was going to walk around her, but then she glanced back at me. There wasn't a hint of asking for help in her eyes. If anything, her expression practically said, "What are you looking at?" "Oh, really? What's wrong with looking?" I pushed my sunglasses up and walked over. "Let me handle it." She looked me up and down. "You sure you can?" "Excuse me? Who are you underestimating?" I bent down, grabbed the handle with one hand, and heaved upward. It didn't budge. The smile on my face nearly cracked. I tried again. Harder. This time, the suitcase moved, but, riot. The zipper exploded. The suitcase split clean in half. Everything inside erupted like a volcano. Clothes, books, toiletries, a power bank, a stuffed toy, and then, a whole pile of brightly colored underwear. Time froze. Chapter 3. A pink one landed on my sunglasses. A white one draped itself over my shoulder. There I was, standing in front of the dorm building with a bra hanging over my head, a pair of panties on my shoulder, and half a broken zipper still clutched in my hand. The entire area went silent for about 2 seconds. Then, someone burst out laughing. Before I knew it, at least 30 people around the dorm were staring at me. A few had already pulled out their phones to record. I even heard one guy yell, "Bro, pink looks good on you." The girl's face turned bright red. The embarrassment in her eyes quickly transformed into pure fury. Then, thud, she kicked me square in the shin. It wasn't hard, but it was terrifyingly accurate. Right on the bone. "You pervert. What the hell?" "Wait, it wasn't on purpose." "Oh, yes it was. You've got it all wrong. Why would I ever?" She gritted her teeth. "Why don't you look at what's hanging off your head first?" I reached up and touched it. Pink, lace trim, a cute little bow. I ripped it off at record speed and hurled it back into the suitcase like I was throwing a live grenade. "It was an accident. Blame the zipper. File a complaint with the manufacturer." She glared at me for 3 full seconds. Then she crouched down and started stuffing everything back into what was left of the suitcase. One item after another. Her ears were so red they looked ready to catch fire. I knelt down to help, but I only dared pick up the books and the power bank. Everything else, I wouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole. The crowd kept growing. Some people applauded. Some whistled. Others started chanting, "Kiss, kiss." On my very first day of college, I'd planned to become a quiet, mysterious man with a tragic past. Instead, I'd become the biggest joke in the entire dorm. After packing everything up, she hugged the battered suitcase to her chest and stood. She looked back at me. "What's your name?" "George." She bit her lip. "Fine." She nodded, wearing the unmistakable expression of someone committing my face to memory. "My name is Willow. Remember it. I'm going to make you pay for this." Then she turned around and walked away without another glance, carrying her broken suitcase. I stood there, still smelling faintly of laundry detergent. David stuck his head out of the dorm window upstairs. "George, I got the whole thing on video," I shouted. "Delete it." He grinned. "Too late. I already posted it in the class group chat." "David, get down here." "Sorry, I'm busy enjoying our private bathroom. See ya." I remained standing outside the dorm. The sun beat down mercilessly on my head. Behind me, the laughter of those 30 people still hadn't died away. I thought back to the vow I'd made at the school gate just an hour earlier, to become a quiet, brooding man of few words. Hee. Chapter 4. On the 3rd day of military training, I finally confirmed one thing. Willow and I were in the same department. To be more precise, we were in the same school, the same major, and we'd be taking the same classes for the next 4 years. The moment I spotted her standing in formation, every hair on my body stood on end. She saw me too. That look, how do I put it? It was like a cat spotting the thief who stole its favorite fish. The instructor barked commands from the front. Eyes right. I stood perfectly straight, eyes fixed ahead, my expression stern, pretending not to notice her. Count off. 1, 2, 3. Then it was my turn. 4. Loud, clear, strong. Not a single extra word. That was the aura of a brooding man. 5. Her voice came from beside me. Bright, clean. Then I heard her quietly add under her breath. Pervert. The corner of my mouth twitched. After training, David slung an arm around my neck as we headed toward the cafeteria. George, did you know? Willow's officially the hottest girl in our department. What's that got to do with me? He grinned. You wore her underwear on your head on the first day of school. What do you mean? What's it got to do with you? That was an accident. An accident? He laughed. Bro, do you know what nickname everyone in the class group gave you? I don't know, and I don't want to. Pink Bow Warrior. What the hell? David, keep talking and I'll clog our private bathroom. He immediately let go of my neck and took 2 steps back. Easy, bro, we can talk this out. The cafeteria was packed. I wandered around with my tray, searching for a seat. After what felt like forever, I finally spotted an empty one. I walked over, then froze. Willow was sitting across from it. She was eating quietly, her chopsticks holding a piece of braised pork. I immediately turned to leave. Stop. She didn't even look up. Sit. I hesitated. Sit. There wasn't the slightest room for negotiation in her voice, so I sat down, as far away from her as the table would allow. George. Yes, she asked. Do you think what happened that day was funny? No. I honestly think it was the most embarrassing moment of my entire life. She finally looked up at me. She took a bite of the braised pork between her chopsticks. I'll give you that. I had no response. I checked. She continued. The suitcase really did have a manufacturing defect. I nodded immediately. Exactly. That's what I kept saying. But, she set down her chopsticks. Photos of you wearing my underwear on your head have already spread across the entire campus. What? That video David uploaded got reposted on the university confession page. It's been viewed over 7,000 times. The spoon slipped from my hand. She continued expressionlessly. The caption says, on the very first day of school, a freshman helped a senior girl air out her underwear. This is the true spirit of college students. I'm not even a senior, and that caption is absolutely destroying my social life. She narrowed her eyes. So, you're going to take responsibility? What? You. She pointed at me. You're going to contact the confession page admin and get the post deleted. Oh. I scratched my head. Can't you just? She bit her lip. Go myself. The second I say anything, the whole school will know they're mine. If you claim they're yours. She shrugged. Who's going to question it? I stared at her. Somehow, I couldn't argue with that logic. Chapter 5. That afternoon, I tracked down the admin of the campus confession page. He was a chubby guy with glasses, sitting in the computer lab, chewing on a spicy snack. You want a post deleted? I nodded. Yeah. Which one? I rubbed my nose. The underwear one. He gave me a thoughtful look. Oh, so you're the Pink Bow Warrior. Can you not call me that? Sure. He shrugged. But deleting a post comes with a condition. What condition? He adjusted his glasses. Go buy me 3 ice-cold Cokes from the vending machine. The machine's on the 6th floor of the building across the way. The elevator's broken. I stared at him. His expression was completely sincere. He wasn't joking. The 6th floor. The 6th floor. And the elevator's broken. Broken. I took a deep breath. 20 minutes later, I'd carried 3 ice-cold bottles of Coke up 6 flights of stairs, and back down again. I was drenched in sweat. The post was deleted. I texted Willow. Done. She replied with a single word. Not bad. Not even a thanks. I turned off my phone, but for some reason, I wasn't feeling nearly as miserable anymore. I even forgot to post my daily heartbreak quote on social media. That night, back in the dorm, David was gaming. Our other 2 roommates, Elias and Alan, were discussing tomorrow's elective classes. I flopped onto my bed. Without looking away from his screen, David asked, George, did you go see the confession page admin this afternoon? Yeah. Got the post deleted? Yep. What a shame. I already saved screenshots. David. What? I looked at him. Can you do one decent thing in your entire life? He finally looked up, wearing the most innocent expression imaginable. I'm helping you expand your social circle. Bro, think about it. It's only been 3 days since school started. And everyone in the department already knows who you are. They know my ass. The whole department calls me Pink Bow Warrior. That just means you're memorable. Elias chimed in from the top bunk. He's got a point. You really are memorable. Alan delivered the finishing blow. I went to fill my water bottle today, The lady in the water room asked if I was your roommate. And she said, that young man in your dorm is so kind, helping girls hang up their underwear and all. I pulled my blanket over my face. Lying there in the darkness, I thought about Sophia. If she could see me now, would she think that leaving me had been the right decision? Forget it. No point thinking about it. Time to sleep. I still had calculus tomorrow, and rumor had it Professor Mao was absolutely terrifying. Chapter 6. Professor Mao really was terrifying. He was in his 60s, with graying hair and glasses so thick they looked bulletproof. He never smiled in class, and he never went easy on attendance. On the very first day, he made an announcement. 40% of this class will fail the final exam. If you can't accept that, now's the time to change majors. The classroom fell completely silent. I was sitting in the third row by the window. I'd picked that seat very carefully. Not too close to the front, not too noticeable. Next to the window, with good lighting. Perfect for staring into space. Perfect for being a brooding man. Professor Mao was explaining limits. I was thinking about Sophia. Outside, the plane trees had begun shedding their leaves. By late September, the breeze had already turned chilly. Sophia was in the south. She was probably still wearing short sleeves. She loved white t-shirts and high ponytails. When she smiled, George. Professor Mao's voice cracked through the classroom like thunder. I shot to my feet on instinct. Here, he pointed at the board. Example 3 on page 7. Come solve it. Every eye in the classroom turned toward me. I glanced at the problem. A limits question. To be honest, I knew how to do it. Math had always been my best subject in high school. Sophia used to copy my homework all the time. I walked to the front and picked up a piece of chalk. My hand trembled a little, not because I was nervous, because I'd stayed up gaming until 3 in the morning and my hand still hadn't recovered from gripping the mouse. A few moments later, I finished. Correct answer. Professor Mao adjusted his glasses and looked at me. You may sit down. No praise, but no criticism either. I let out a quiet sigh of relief and returned to my seat. Crisis over. Back to being broody. Unfortunately, from that day on, Professor Mao had his eye on me. He called on me at least once every class, and always with the hardest problems. The worst part? I knew how to solve every single one. For all 3 years of high school, the only way I'd coped with my emotions was by doing math. When Sophia was chatting with Makoto, I was solving problems. When Sophia and Makoto went to the cafeteria together, I stayed in the classroom solving problems. I did that for 3 straight years. I'd worn through my math workbook twice, so the questions Professor Mao threw at me were never particularly difficult. The problem was, I didn't want to be the genius. I wanted to be the brooding underachiever, the kind of guy who leaned against the window, stared at the sky, and contemplated the meaning of life. After class, Professor Mao stopped in front of me. George, you've got a solid foundation in mathematics. It's all right, he asked. Interested in joining the mathematical modeling competition? No. Professor Mao stared at me speechlessly. He adjusted his glasses. I wasn't asking for your opinion. I've already signed you up. Wait, what? Then why did you ask me? Next Wednesday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, engineering building, room 302, be there for training. With that, he turned around and walked away. His steps were steady. His back radiated absolute determination. He didn't leave me the slightest chance to refuse. I stood there in silence. David walked over and patted me on the shoulder. Congratulations, genius. Get lost. But an even more ridiculous thing happened afterward. Tuesday afternoon. No classes. I went to the library. My objective was simple. Find a quiet corner and become a brooding reader. I chose a seat tucked away beside the last bookshelf on the second floor, a place hardly anyone ever visited. I pulled out 100 Years of Solitude, opened it. Perfect. The mood was just right. Dim lighting, yellowed pages, absolute silence. This was who I was supposed to be. A man so heartbroken that he'd buried himself in literature. Chapter 7. I read 3 pages. Then I fell asleep. Not on purpose. I was genuinely exhausted. David had been snoring all night, and I barely got any sleep. I lay sprawled over the desk, my face pressed against the pages, while my drool slowly soaked into one of Garcia Marquez's classic passages. Then I had a dream. In the dream, Professor Mao was writing a limit problem on the blackboard, the really difficult kind. In the dream, I walked up to the podium, picked up a piece of chalk, and said, "Suppose the limit of f(x) as x approaches 0 equals." I was muttering, not very loudly, but in the quiet library, it was clear enough. Using L'Hopital's rule, we differentiate both the numerator and the denominator. David later reconstructed the entire scene for me. At the time, there were about 7 or 8 people in that section of the second floor. Every single one of them looked up. There was a freshman asleep at his desk, muttering advanced calculus formulas in his sleep, with flawless logic and perfectly coherent reasoning. It went on for about 3 minutes. One graduate student even pulled out his phone and recorded it. The craziest part was, Professor Mao happened to be in the library that afternoon. He'd been on the 3rd floor. After hearing the commotion, he came downstairs to see what was happening. Just in time to hear me solve the final step of the problem in my sleep. I mumbled. Therefore, the limit equals 1/2. Then I rolled over and kept sleeping. Professor Mao stood beside me for 30 seconds, then quietly turned around and left. The next day in class, he announced to everyone, "One of the students in this department solved an advanced calculus limits problem while asleep. I've been teaching for 40 years. This is the first time I've ever seen such a thing." The entire class turned to look at me. I wanted to bury my face in my desk. That video. The graduate student uploaded it to the department group chat. The caption read, "Breaking news. Freshman sleepwalks through a calculus problem in the library. Reincarnated math genius suspected." Within 3 days, it reached over 200,000 views. The top comment read, "So this is what people mean by studying so hard you even do it in your dreams." The second highest comment said, "Wait, isn't this the Pink Bow Warrior? He's talented at everything." I threw my phone onto the bed. Across the room, David was laughing so hard he nearly rolled off his bunk. "George, you've officially become a legend in our department." "A legend? My ass. I just wanted to be an ordinary guy and keep a low profile." He shook his head. "Too late." Then he pointed at my phone. "Look who shared your video." I picked it up. One profile picture immediately caught my eye. Sophia. She had shared the video, without adding a single word, just shared it. I stared at her profile picture for a long time. It had been 3 months. Ever since the college entrance exams ended, she had never contacted me first, and now, she had shared a video of me. What did that mean? Was she paying attention to me? Or had she simply shared it without thinking? My phone buzzed. A new message. It was from Sophia. "How have you been lately?" I held my phone, my finger hovering over the keyboard. I typed, "Not well. I've been miserable." Then deleted it. I typed again, "I'm okay. Just getting by." Deleted. Then, "None of your damn business." Deleted. In the end, I typed only one reply. "I'm doing all right." Sent. She never replied again. I slid my phone under my pillow, rolled over, and faced the wall. Behind me, David asked, "That was Sophia, wasn't it?" "Shut up. I knew it." He sighed. "Stop replying to her. It won't make you any happier." I said shut up. Silence. For 2 seconds. "George, what? Tomorrow's sports day. The PE teacher signed you up for the 100-meter dash." I stared blankly. "When did I ever agree to?" "He said you ran fast during military training. He thinks you've got potential." "I'm not going." David shrugged. "Skip it if you want, but you'll lose 1,000 conduct points." I pulled the blanket over my head, then muttered a single word, "A very, very dirty one." Chapter 8. Sports day arrived. The sky was clear, the clouds were white, and a cool autumn breeze drifted through the air. The perfect weather to stay in the dorm and sleep. Instead, I was standing on the starting line for the 100-meter dash. I was wearing a white tank top, a pair of athletic shorts, and a pair of track spikes that David had somehow borrowed from me. They were one size too small. My feet were being crushed. "Let's go, George," David yelled from the stands. Beside him, Elias and Alan were holding up a handmade banner. It read, "Pink Bow Warrior never gives up." I immediately turned my head and pretended I hadn't seen it. 8 runners, 8 lanes. I was in lane 6. The guy in lane 7 had calf muscles so defined they were downright depressing. One look and you knew he was a track athlete. During warm-up, he bounced straight up 3 times. Each jump was ridiculously high. My warm-up routine. I stood there and rubbed my eyes. "On your marks." The starter raised the pistol. I bent down into position. The spikes were killing my feet. Set. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. At the edge of the grass beside the track, a snake, green, thin, slowly slithering, toward lane 6, toward me. Every drop of blood in my body froze within 0.3 of a second. I'd been terrified of snakes ever since I was a kid. The kind of fear that shot straight from the soles of my feet to the top of my head the instant I saw one. Sophia used to laugh at me. She'd tease me for being a 6-foot-tall guy who was scared of a tiny snake. Yeah, it was embarrassing, but I couldn't help it. Bang. The gun fired. Everyone exploded off the line. So did I. But I wasn't running a race. I was running for my life. The snake shot out of the grass behind me far faster than I'd expected. Maybe it had just been basking in the sun. Maybe the gunshot startled it and it instinctively slithered toward the track. But in my eyes, it was chasing me. It wanted me dead. Fear is the greatest fuel in the world. My legs pumped faster than they ever had in my entire life. The spikes didn't hurt anymore. I couldn't feel anything, except the wind, roaring past my ears. The guy in lane 7 stayed beside me for about 30 meters. Then, I left him behind, not gradually, instantly, as if we belonged to completely different worlds. When I crossed the finish line, I couldn't stop my momentum. I stumbled forward and dove headfirst onto the crash mat. The first thing I did was flip over and sit up, frantically whipping my head from side to side. Where's the snake? Where's the snake? Did it follow me? The entire stadium fell silent. Then the announcer's trembling voice echoed through the speakers. Lane 6, George, time, 10.87 seconds. You've broken the university men's 100-meter record. The previous record, set in 2015, was 11.12 seconds. The stands erupted into deafening cheers. David's voice cut through all the noise. Holy crap, George, since when did you become Usain Bolt? I sat there on the crash mat, gasping for breath, covered in cold sweat. 3 officials hurried over. Student, have you ever trained in sprinting before? And no. Then that acceleration. There was a snake. What? I pointed toward the grass beside the track. All 3 officials turned to look. There was nothing there. The snake had disappeared long ago. They exchanged puzzled glances. Then the head of the physical education department came running over. He was a burly man in his 50s with a stopwatch hanging around his neck, his face glowing with excitement. This student, he grabbed my hand enthusiastically. Would you like to join the university track team? And no. He cut me off. We'll give you excellent benefits. There's a monthly training stipend. I waved my hands. I really don't. And if you win medals, he continued excitedly, the university pays additional cash rewards. David sprinted down from the stands. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders and whispered into my ear. Bro, the stipend's pretty good. How much? $800 a month. I looked at the PE director's eager face, then at David's incredibly punchable grin. After a long pause, I replied, I'll think about it. Chapter 9. The awards ceremony was even more ridiculous. I stood on the podium. A gold medal hung around my neck. The university president personally presented me with the award. Below the stage, phone cameras flashed non-stop. My expression was painfully stiff, because the entire time, I was scanning the bushes around the field, just in case the snake came back. David was filming again. This time he didn't even post it in the class group chat. He uploaded it straight to the university's official TikTok account. The title read, Freshman breaks university's 100-meter record. First words after the race, there's a snake. The comments exploded. Top comment, he wasn't running that fast. He was running for his life. Second place, now that's what you call a race against death. Third place, the snake's probably thinking, I made you famous, and this is how you repay me. After reading the comments back in the dorm, I quietly opened Sophia's social media. Her latest post was from 2 days ago. She and Makoto were standing on a beach in the south. Their shadows stretched long across the sand. Caption, Autumn is here. I stared at the photo for a long time, then backed out. No like, no comment. I tossed my phone onto my pillow. David, yeah, I'll join the track team. He nodded. That's more like it. I added. But if you secretly film me again, I'm throwing your phone into the toilet. Got it, bro. He immediately raised his phone and snapped another picture. I chased him around the dorm 3 times. The entire building heard him screaming. By mid-October, the weather had turned cold. Autumn in the north arrived without warning. You needed a jacket in the morning and evening, but short sleeves were still enough at noon. Track practice officially began. 3 afternoons a week, starting at 4 o'clock. Sprinting, stretching, strength training. The coach was a retired athlete in his early 30s. During my first practice, he watched me run a 400-meter lap, then shook his head. Your running form is a complete mess, but your stride frequency is elite. Huh, he explained. In plain English, you look terrible when you run, but you're fast. Thanks, that wasn't a compliment. If we polish all those bad habits out of you, you've got a shot at the provincial championships. I didn't take it seriously. I joined the track team for the $800 a month stipend, not for some provincial competition. After practice, I headed to the cafeteria as usual. Today's braised pork looked especially good. Tray in hand, I searched for a seat, then I spotted Willow. She was sitting alone in a corner. Ever since I helped get that post deleted, we'd occasionally run into each other in the cafeteria. Usually we'd either glare at each other, or she'd sigh, you again, before we silently ate our own meals. Today was different. There was a guy sitting across from her, tall, slim, gold-rimmed glasses, a nice hoodie that definitely wasn't cheap. Honestly, he was pretty handsome. He kept talking to Willow. She quietly ate her food without much expression. He slid a bottle of yogurt toward her. She didn't take it. He said something else. Willow looked up and moved her lips. I couldn't hear her, but judging by the way her mouth moved, she simply said, no, thanks. Short, direct. The smile on the guy's face stiffened. For some reason, I suddenly found the whole thing a little funny. I walked over and sat in the empty seat beside Willow. Not on purpose. It really was the only seat left. Willow frowned. You again? Yeah. When are you going to start eating in the other cafeteria? I scratched my head. There are only 2 cafeterias on campus. This one's closer. The guy across from us looked at me. You two know each other. Willow took another bite of rice. Not that well. I shrugged. I don't know if that's entirely fair. After all, that day you're UND. Shut up. She stopped her chopsticks midair and glared at me. Say one more word, and you'll lose your appetite tonight. I shut my mouth immediately. The guy across from us looked even more confused. His eyes bounced between Willow and me, like he was trying to solve the hardest reading comprehension question he'd ever seen. Chapter 10. At last, he stood up with his tray and left. Before leaving, he said, "Well, Willow, I'm heading out." Willow gave a quiet hum. She didn't even look up. I watched the guy's back as he walked away. "One of your admirers. What's it to you?" "Oh." I lowered my head and kept eating. After a couple of bites, she suddenly asked, "Finished training today?" "Yeah." "I heard you broke the school record." "Yeah, because of a snake." I was speechless. "Who told you that?" "The whole campus knows." The corner of her mouth twitched. She was trying very hard to hold it back, but I saw it. She was suppressing a laugh. "Can you not laugh?" "I'm not laughing. The corners of your mouth are curling up. You're seeing things." She lowered her head and continued eating. The tips of her ears were slightly red. Maybe the cafeteria was just too warm. That night, I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone. Sophia had posted another update. This time it wasn't a photo of herself. It was a picture of a tree, bare branches beneath a streetlight. The caption read, "So tired." There was no location, no Makoto. I stared at those 2 words for a long time. Tired of what? Tired because of what? Back then, whenever she said she was tired, I'd go to the convenience store, buy her a bottle of warm milk, leave it on her desk, and walk away without saying a word. Now we were over 1,000 kilometers apart. It wasn't like she expected me to buy her a cup of milk. Besides, why should I? She chose this path. I typed out a comment, deleted it, typed it again, deleted it again. In the end, I didn't post anything. Looking at Sophia's posts again, David's voice drifted over from the opposite bunk. "No." David snorted. "Come on, man. Your screen's reflecting everything." I saw it. I had no comeback. He said, "Bro, let me give you some honest advice." He rolled over to face me. In the darkness, I couldn't make out his expression. "Even if you win her back, things will never be the same." "I know. If you know, then stop looking." I wasn't looking. Sure, you weren't looking." He rolled back over. 10 seconds later. "George." "What?" "Your mom called earlier. You weren't around." So I answered it. My heart skipped a beat. "What did you tell her?" "She asked if you had a girlfriend." "What did you say?" "I told her you've got several girls around you." David. "Hey, relax. Your mom was thrilled. She said she's sending you 2 boxes of apples." I gritted my teeth. "I don't need apples. I need you to shut up. They'll be here tomorrow. Fresh ones." I hurled my pillow at him. He caught it, then hugged it, rolled over, and kept it. "One of these days, I swear I'm hanging this guy from the dorm roof to dry." Chapter 11. November arrived. The apples really did show up. 2 boxes. I couldn't finish them by myself, so I gave 1 box to the dorm next door. The other box was wiped out by David, Elias, and Alan in 3 days. I got 2. Just 2. Seriously, you guys couldn't have left me at least 4. David took another bite of an apple. "Didn't you say apples represent your mom's love? Love is meant to be shared." "When did I ever say that?" "In your dreams." For crying out loud. Before I had even recovered from the apple incident. My mom called again. "Son." "Yeah. Your roommate said you've got several girls around you. He's making it up. Don't lie to your mother." "I'm not against you dating. It's just what?" She said. "I've set up a blind date for you." The remote control slipped right out of my hand. "Mom, I'm only a freshman." She cut me off. "Your second aunt's son started dating as a freshman. His kid can already buy soy sauce." I let out a sigh. "That's because cousin from second aunt's family." "Never mind. I don't even want to explain." She continued. "It's at the cafe in the shopping mall near your university. This Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. The girl's your dad's old comrade's daughter. She's a wonderful girl, and she's beautiful too." "Mom, I'm really not interested. If you don't go, I'm cutting off your allowance." Click. She hung up. I sat on my bed. The vein on my forehead twitched twice. David poked his head over. "You're going on a blind date. Don't come any closer." He grinned. "Bro, this is a good thing. Look at you. You've been walking around every day looking like your girlfriend died. Well, more like your ex ran off with someone else." "Close enough. Anyway, it's time you moved on. I don't need a blind date, but you do need your allowance." He had a point. I couldn't argue with that. Saturday, 1:50 p.m. I deliberately put on the most ordinary hoodie, the most ordinary pair of jeans, and the most ordinary sneakers. Mission: make it obvious at first glance that I didn't want to be there. When I walked into the cafe, a girl was already sitting in the corner. She had short hair, an oval face, and was wearing a light blue sweater while looking at her phone. I walked over. "Hi, I'm George." She looked up. You're George." "That's right." She gave me a quick once-over. "Have a seat." I sat down. The server came over. I ordered an Americano. She ordered a latte. Then, silence. The textbook kind of awkward. After a while, I asked, "So, you're..." Before I could finish, the cafe door swung open. Someone walked in. A high ponytail. Light, crisp footsteps. I turned around. Willow. The moment she saw me, she stopped in her tracks. Then she noticed the girl sitting across from me. Her expression changed, from confusion to utter shock. "Freya." The girl across from me froze too. "Willow, what are you doing?" Willow tilted her head. "Weren't you coming here for a blind date today?" "I came to be your wingwoman." My brain froze. Wait a second. The girl across from me, Freya, was Willow's friend. And Willow had come to coach her friend through the blind date. And I was the guy she was meeting. The three of us looked at one another. An utterly suffocating awkwardness filled the air. Chapter 12. Willow was the first to recover. She slowly turned to look at me. Her eyes said one thing. "What on earth are you doing?" "I didn't want to come either," I said. "Then why are you here?" "My mom made me." "George, do you even hear yourself?" Scratching my head awkwardly, I said. "I honestly had no idea your friend was my blind date." Freya spoke up timidly. "You two know each other." Willow took a deep breath. After a moment, she bit her lip and said, "Not really." To my surprise, Freya's eyes suddenly lit up. "You said not really, but isn't he that?" "That what?" I immediately became alert. "That pink bow warrior." Time froze in the cafe once again. "Freya, shut up." Willow's voice dropped to a near whisper, but Freya was already excited. She slapped both hands on the table. "Yes, I saw that video. He's the one who carried your luggage and then..." "Freya." Willow clapped a hand over her friend's mouth. Too late. A girl at the next table turned around and looked at me. Her expression practically said, "Oh, so it's you." I picked up my Americano and took a long sip. Bitter. Just a little more bitter than my life. The three of us sat there for another 20 minutes. Without question, they were the longest 20 minutes of my life. Freya kept laughing. Willow kept frowning. I kept drinking my Americano. Finally, Freya stood up. "I'm going to the restroom." She walked away, leaving only Willow and me. She asked, "Your mom set this up?" "Yeah. You weren't actually thinking of..." "I wasn't." "Don't worry. I'm not interested in your friend." "I'm not worried about that." "Then what are you worried about?" She was silent for 2 seconds. "I'm worried you'll drag my friend into your mess." "That's your opinion of me." "What kind of opinion were you hoping for?" I thought about it. Turns out, I didn't have an answer. "So what do you think I should do?" Resting her chin on one hand, she looked at me. "Just tell your mom the two of you aren't a good match." "Fair enough. And one more thing." "What?" She looked at me. "You still can't let go of your ex, can you?" The question caught me off guard. She asked it so directly. Her eyes never left mine. "Why would you ask that?" "Because the way you looked at my friend, there wasn't a spark in your eyes the entire time. I was only here because I was forced to come. That has nothing to do with it. Someone who's truly moved on doesn't look like that." She stood up. "I'm going to find Freya." After taking 2 steps, she stopped. Without turning around, she said, "George, your eyes do light up when you're running." I sighed. "That's because there was a snake chasing me." She let out a quiet laugh. Then she walked away. I sat alone in the cafe. The Americano in front of me had gone completely cold. Its bitterness lingered in my mouth. She was right. I still hadn't let go, but I didn't know what I was actually holding on to. Was it Sophia? Or was it 12 years of habit? My phone vibrated. I looked down. A message from Sophia. "George, something happened to Makoto's family. I might have to go back north for a while." My fingers tightened around my phone. Outside the window, sunlight struck the coffee cup, reflecting a small patch of blinding white. I didn't reply. I turned the phone over. Leaving the screen face down, I watched the people passing by outside. My thoughts were a mess. What was coming would come eventually. I just wasn't sure I was ready for it. Chapter 13. I didn't tell anyone that Sophia was coming back, but somehow, David got the news through one of his mysterious information channels. One night after training, I had just taken off my shoes when he spoke from the top bunk in an eerie voice. "So, I heard Sophia's coming back." I froze halfway through taking off my socks. "Who told you that?" "Someone mentioned it in your high school class group chat." "You muted the group, remember?" "I didn't." I looked up at him. "Why are you even in my high school class group?" "You forgot. Senior year, you had me pass notes to Sophia. I added a bunch of people from your class, and later they invited me into the group. That was 2 years ago. Why haven't you left yet?" Because that's where all the gossip is, bro. I only found out Vale and Cammy broke up because of that group. I rolled my socks into a ball and threw them. They landed about 8 inches from his face. I was showing mercy. So, he asked, what happened to Makoto? No idea. You didn't ask Sophia? No. She messaged you? Yeah. And you didn't reply? I replied with MM. David leaned over the edge of the bunk and looked at me as if I were terminally ill. Bro, you're hopeless. How am I hopeless? He said. A girl goes out of her way to message you, and all you send back is MM. Are you having a conversation or sending Morse code? I sighed. I just didn't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Just don't sit there overthinking it. He pulled his head back. A few seconds later, George, what now? If she really comes back, what are you going to do? I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. There was a tiny crack running across it. It twisted from the light fixture all the way toward the window. I'm not going to do anything. You sure? Yeah, good. He rolled over. The bed frame creaked. Then I can stop worrying. What were you worried about? He chuckled. I was afraid you'd do something stupid on impulse. I didn't answer. To be honest, he wasn't wrong. My head was running a little hot, but not because of Sophia. It was because, for the first time, I realized I'd actually changed over the past few months. Not because I looked better. Not because I'd gotten stronger. It was something in my mindset. Back then, I thought Sophia leaving meant my world had fallen apart, but it hadn't. The sun still rose every morning. The braised pork in the cafeteria tasted exactly the same. David was still just as punchable. Willow was still just as sharp-tongued. Professor Mao still called on me every single class. I went to class. I trained. I ate. Without Sophia in my life, I was doing just fine. That realization scared me a little, because I'd spent all this time telling myself I was someone who'd been abandoned. If even I no longer thought I was miserable, then what had all that heartbreak been? Was I just acting? I rolled over. Forget it. I had calculus tomorrow. The next morning, Professor Mao was lecturing on Taylor expansions. The entire class looked half asleep. I was the only one paying attention, not because I loved studying, but because the moment Professor Mao caught someone zoning out, he'd call on them, and I was always his first choice. After class, he called me into the hallway. I read your paper for the mathematical modeling preliminary. I rubbed my nose awkwardly. Oh, that. I kind of just threw it together. It won the provincial second prize. What? Professor Mao nodded. The results will be released tomorrow. Your modeling approach was excellent. I've left comments on a few sections. Revise them when you get back and aim for the national competition. I stared at him in disbelief. Professor Mao, I really wasn't planning to. Whether you plan to or not doesn't matter. He looked at me seriously through his glasses. If you're capable of doing something but choose not to, that's called wasting your talent. Chapter 14. He walked away. I stood there in the hallway, holding the paper that was covered with Professor Mao's handwritten notes. Provincial second prize. Second prize in the provincial mathematical modeling competition. As a freshman, I'd always thought I was just an ordinary guy. So ordinary that my only defining trait was being Sophia's childhood sweetheart. But after Sophia left, it felt like I'd become someone who no longer needed to rely on anyone else. When I got back to the dorm, David had already spread the news throughout the entire department. George, provincial second prize. That scholarship is basically yours this semester. Elias applauded from the top bunk. Alan dug out a bag of spicy strips to celebrate. David threw an arm around my shoulders and insisted on treating me to barbecue. You're paying. He grinned. You pay. I'll treat. I stared at him. That's me treating. Details don't matter. Come on. That night, the four of us were at the barbecue stand outside the university's north gate. We went through a whole case of beer. David got drunk and wrapped an arm around me. Bro, you're so damn handsome. Elias got drunk and fell asleep on the table, snoring. Alan got drunk, squatted by the roadside, and called his mom to tell her he missed home. I wasn't drunk. I'd always had a high tolerance for alcohol. I sat on a plastic stool, holding a bottle of beer that was no longer cold. The streetlights glowed overhead. The lively sounds of the night surrounded us. I pulled out my phone. Sophia's profile picture sat quietly in my chat list. She still hadn't told me exactly when she'd be back, but I already knew. This time, I wasn't going to chase after her anymore. Not because I didn't like her, not because I hated her. It was because I'd finally realized that my world didn't revolve around her. My phone vibrated. It wasn't Sophia. It was Willow. Where are you guys drinking? The barbecue stand by the north gate. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? I need a favor. Help me move a bookshelf. Why don't you ask that admirer of yours? No, I want you to do it. Fine. 2 o'clock. Meet me downstairs outside the girls' dorm. Not upstairs. You want to come upstairs? Not really. Then downstairs it is. I put my phone away. Before I knew it, the corners of my mouth had lifted. Then I took a sip of beer and forced the smile back down. No, I was supposed to look heartbroken, but the smile came back anyway. Forget it. I couldn't be bothered anymore. Early December. The first snow fell in the north. Sophia came back. She didn't tell me beforehand. I saw her at the cafe by the university gate, the same one where I'd gone on that blind date. That afternoon, after helping Willow move the bookshelf, I happened to walk past the cafe. I glanced through the window. Just one glance. She was sitting by the window. She'd lost weight, noticeably so. Her jawline was sharper. Her cheekbones were more pronounced. She wore a gray coat. Her hair was down, resting over her shoulders. A cup of coffee sat untouched in front of her. She stared out the window, her gaze unfocused. I stood outside. She didn't see me, or maybe she did, and simply didn't recognize me. I stood there for about 10 seconds. Then I turned around and walked away. 2 days later, she contacted me, a message on WeChat. George, can we meet? I stared at those words for a long time. Then I typed, where? She replied, the park outside the university. The usual place. The usual place. The park we'd always gone to in high school. There was a row of benches there. We sat there eating popsicles in the summer. We sat there breathing clouds of white in the winter. Whenever she talked about the future, that was where she liked to sit. I went. Chapter 15. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun barely showed through. Thick clouds covered the sky. There wasn't much wind. Half the snow had already melted, leaving the ground damp. Sophia was sitting on the far left bench, just like she used to in high school. I walked over, sat down beside her, leaving the space of one person between us. She didn't speak first, neither did I. About a minute passed in silence. You've lost weight, I said. Yeah. What about Makoto? She lowered her head. Her fingers twisted the sleeve of her coat. My dad's business ran into trouble. His family owes a lot of money now. He dropped out. Dropped out. She nodded. He went back to his hometown to help his dad deal with everything. I stayed silent. He told me we should spend some time apart until he got things sorted out. And then he barely contacted me anymore. Her voice was soft, made even thinner by the winter air. I lived alone in the South for 2 months. I couldn't focus on classes. I just sat in my dorm room every day. She turned to look at me. Her eyes were slightly red. George, am I stupid? That question, if she'd asked me 6 months ago, I probably would have said, no, you just chose the person you loved. But now, my mouth answered before my brain could. It's hard to say. She froze. So did I. Then I quickly added, but who hasn't done something stupid? She looked at me for 3 seconds. Then, she smiled, just a little. The corners of her lips lifted, then fell again. You've changed. The old you would have never said something like that. You would have said, it's okay, I'm here for you. I shrugged. That was the old me. Yeah. She nodded, her gaze returning to the distance. That was the old you. Silence settled between us again. But this silence wasn't like before. Back then, our silence had been comfortable. Now, it was empty. George, yeah, have you been doing okay? I'm doing all right, she said. I saw your videos, the one at the library, and the one from the sports meet. Please don't remind me. She let out a faint smile. You seem different now. Better. I'm not. I just got lucky. Lucky is a kind of ability too. She stood up, brushed the dust from her coat. I'm going back south next week. As soon as I'm done taking care of things here. You're not staying. What would I stay for? She smiled again. This one carried a trace of bitterness. I still have to clean up the mess I made. She turned to leave. After taking 2 steps, she stopped. George, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. A cold breeze swept past, carrying the damp scent of earth after the snow. Without turning around, she said, you don't have to tell me it's okay, because I know it isn't. I'm sorry, George. Then she walked away. I remained on the bench, watching her figure grow smaller and smaller. Her gray coat gradually blended into the gray sky. Strangely enough, I'd thought this moment would break me. I'd thought something inside me would shatter, but it didn't. Nothing broke. Instead, it felt as though something had finally settled. Heavy, solid, at peace. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Where are you? Professor Mao's looking for you. The list for the national competition is out. He wants you in his office. I stood up, brushed the half-melted snow from my pants, replied, on my way. Then I turned toward campus, without looking back. This time, I truly didn't look back. Chapter 16. The national competition team was finalized. 3 people per team. Me, Elias, and a senior from the School of Mathematics I'd never met. Professor Mao would be our advisor. The competition was scheduled for mid-January, before winter break. That meant the next month would be packed with intensive training, competition prep, and final exam review, all at the same time. Every day was filled to the brim. Classes started at 8 every morning. Track practice at 4 every afternoon. Competition prep from 7 to 11 every night. No weekends off. I finally understood what Sophia had meant when she said, "So tired," but unlike her, my exhaustion felt fulfilling. I was so busy that I didn't have time to dwell on random thoughts. So busy that I didn't even have time to be heartbroken anymore. One day after practice, I was walking back to the dorm from the track. It was already dark. The streetlight stretched my shadow across the ground. White mist escaped with every breath. Then I saw Willow. She was leaning against a pillar outside the dorm entrance, her shoulders hunched, arms folded tightly across her chest. The tip of her nose was red from the cold. "What are you doing here?" She tapped her forehead. "Waiting for you." "For me? Did your phone die? I called you 5 times. I pulled out my phone. Black screen. She was right. It had died. "What happened?" "Freya's birthday." "What does that have to do with me?" "She specifically said you had to come. She says you owe her after that blind date." "I owe her. That was my mom's idea." "So," she looked at me, "are you coming or not?" "I'm not." She shook her head. "You are." "I still have competition prep. It's just dinner." "1 hour. You can't spare 1 hour." I looked at her. The streetlight cast half her face in light and half in shadow. The tip of her nose was red. There seemed to be a faint layer of mist clinging to her eyelashes. I sighed. "Fine. Go change. I'll meet you downstairs in 10 minutes. She turned and walked away. After 3 steps, she looked back. "Dress nicely." "Why?" She answered. "I'm tired of looking at you dressed like a slob." Then she left. I stood there. Those 2 words, "dress nicely," echoing in my head. I went upstairs and spent 15 minutes digging through my closet. In the end, I put on a black turtleneck sweater and a pair of dark pants. I checked myself in the mirror. Not bad. David leaned down from the top bunk. "Ooh, going on a date?" "No." "Freya's birthday." "Oh, you invite me?" "No." "Why not?" "Because you talk too much." "Bro, you really hurt my feelings." "You have feelings." He disappeared back onto his bed. The hot pot restaurant. A table for 4. Freya, Willow, me, and one of Freya's classmates, a guy wearing a baseball cap. Halfway through the meal, Freya suddenly asked, "George, did you meet up with Sophia recently?" My chopsticks froze halfway to the pot. "Who told you that?" Freya looked completely innocent. "People were talking about it in your high school class group." "Your high school class really loves gossip." I looked at her. "Why are you in our class group?" "Your roommate invited me." David. This wasn't the first time I'd wanted to strangle him. Beside me, Willow was dipping slices of tripe into the broth without looking up, but the pace of her chopsticks noticeably slowed. "We met once." And then, Freya's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "That was it. So, was she trying to get back together with you?" "Freya." Willow finally spoke. Her voice wasn't loud, but Freya immediately shut up. Silence hung over the table for 2 seconds. Willow placed the cooked tripe into her own bowl. Without even raising her head, she said, "Just eat. Stop gossiping." "Oh." Freya shrank back obediently. After dinner, Freya and the guy in the baseball cap left first, leaving only Willow and me, standing outside the hot pot restaurant. Chapter 17. The December night was so cold that even breathing hurt. "So," I asked, "which way are you going?" She answered, "Whichever way you go, I'll go the other way." I was speechless. She pulled her scarf higher, covering half her face. Then she suddenly called out, "George." "Yeah?" She asked. "Have you finally let go?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked up at the sky. There were no stars. The clouds were too thick. "I think so." "You think?" "Yeah, I think I have." "You're not even sure yourself," I said. "Some things aren't like flipping a switch, but I do know one thing. I'm not going back." She looked at me for a few seconds. Then she nodded. "That's good." She turned and started walking in the opposite direction. After a few steps, I called out, "Willow." She stopped, but she didn't turn around. "Thanks." "For what?" "Thanks for always." Willow cut me off. "If you're about to say something sentimental, I'm leaving right now." I smiled. "Thanks for not letting me successfully become a gloomy, brooding guy." She still didn't turn around, but I saw her shoulders move slightly. She was probably laughing. Then she said, "You never would have pulled it off anyway." And she walked away. I stood outside the hot pot restaurant. The taste of the spicy broth still lingered in my mouth. Hot, numbing. The warmth spread from my lips all the way into my chest. For a brief moment, I suddenly wanted to sprint, the way I did in the final stretch of a 100-meter race, but I didn't. I shoved my hands into my pockets and walked back toward the dorm. The wind cut across my face, icy and biting, but for some reason, I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from lifting. Chapter 18. January. The national competition came to an end. Our team won the national second prize. Professor Mao treated us to Peking duck. It was the first time in my life I had ever seen him smile during a meal. The winter training camp for the track and field team also ended. Coach said the provincial championship would be held in March and reminded us not to stop training during the winter break. Final exams arrived. I scored 93 in calculus, second in the entire faculty. David failed English. He had to take the makeup exam. I went home for winter break. When my mom saw my report card, she was so happy that she made 2 extra dishes for dinner. My dad stared at my certificates for a few seconds. Then, without saying a word, he poured 2 glasses of baijiu, one for himself, one for me. We clinked glasses. Neither of us said a word. My mom wiped away her tears and murmured, "My son has really made it, Mom. I only won a provincial second prize and a national second prize. That's already making it. Just look at your friend David. He failed English." I frowned. "Don't say that. David's a good guy. Weren't you just saying the other day that he talks too much?" She waved her hand. "He does talk too much, but he's still a good kid." Everything at home was just as it always was during the Lunar New Year. On New Year's Eve, the 3 of us sat in front of the TV watching the Spring Festival Gala. Mom cracked sunflower seeds. Dad struggled to stay awake. I scrolled through social media on my phone. Sophia had posted something. It was a photo taken from a window. The neon lights of the southern city shimmered across the rain. The caption read, "Happy New Year." I gave it a like. I didn't leave a comment. Then I kept scrolling. Willow had posted something too. It was a picture of her cat, a chubby orange tabby, round as a ball, sprawled across the couch with an annoyed expression. The caption read, "This cat is off duty. Do not disturb." I looked at it 3 times, then closed the app, without liking it. 10 minutes later, I opened it again, liked it, unliked it, then liked it again. My dad cracked one eye open. "Still half asleep. What are you doing?" "Nothing." "Then why are you grinning like an idiot?" "I'm not grinning. The smile's practically reaching your ears." I touched my face. He was right. I really was smiling. "I just saw something funny online." Dad let out a snort. "Bet it's a girl." "No. I've been alive for 50 years. You think I can't recognize the face my son makes when he's thinking about a girl?" Mom perked up instantly. "What girl? Which one? The one from the blind date?" "No." "Then who?" "A new girlfriend." "I don't have a girlfriend." "Son, you don't have to hide it from your mother." I wouldn't object. "Dad, look what you started." Dad yawned. "How is this my fault? You're the one smiling like an idiot. Couldn't you have pretended not to notice?" "Impossible. It was way too obvious." I slipped my phone back into my pocket. Better stop looking. The more I looked, the more hooked I became. On the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, David sent me a message. "Bro, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I've got something to tell you. Go ahead." David typed. "Willow sent me a New Year's red envelope." I replied. "And what does that have to do with me?" He answered almost instantly. "Because she wrote this in the note. Please thank George for taking such good care of me this semester." Chapter 19. I stared at that message. My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? Taking care of her? What exactly did I do for her?" David replied. "Helping her move her luggage, deleting those posts, moving her bookshelf, going to her friend's birthday. You count them yourself. Those were what? I was forced into it." "Yeah, forced into it. You were forced for an entire semester." I replied with nothing but a string of periods. "Bro, aren't you going to send her something in return?" I blinked. "Like what?" "You're asking me. You're the one involved here." I sat on my bed thinking for a long time. Then I sent Willow a message. "Happy New Year." She replied instantly. "Happy New Year." Then, she asked, "When are you coming back to campus?" "February 16th. Let me know when you get here." "Why?" "Help me move that bookshelf again. I don't think it's in the right spot." "Can't you move it yourself?" "No, it's too heavy." I sighed. "Last semester you said you couldn't move it and asked me this semester again. So, are you coming or not?" "Yeah." After sending that message, I laid my phone on my chest and stared at the ceiling. Then, "I am never falling in love for the rest of my life." I declared it to the empty room, firmly, resolutely. My phone vibrated again. Willow had sent me a photo. Her chubby orange tabby. One paw rested on the windowsill as it stared at the snow outside. The caption read, "It says it misses you." A second message followed immediately. The cat said that, not me. I looked at the messages. The corners of my mouth stretched from ear to ear. The vow I'd made just moments ago was dead on arrival. Fireworks crackled outside the window. Their colorful flashes danced across the ceiling. I picked up my phone and typed, "Give it a pat for me." Sent. Then I pulled the blanket over my head. For some reason, my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it had climbed into my throat. It was unbearably warm under the blanket, but I couldn't help laughing. Never falling in love again. "George, wake up. You're already done for."